You're saying a girl attacked you in the shower while you were showering? Go on. Sorry. What was the question? Happening, folks. Today we are looking at The Ward from 2011. This has me intrigued. Obviously, with a score like that, a lot of people didn't like this movie. In the name of full transparency, this film is an interesting prospect for me because I am a huge fan of John Carpenter, but I have a personal beef with Amber Heard that I will explain to you as we are going along. This is The Ward. Movie opens in the beautiful state of Oregon in 1966, and a terrified young lady named Tammy gets done in by a dark, skinny thing that we don't get to see yet, and the tension is already making my bum cheeks clench. We meet Amber Heard as she is setting an abandoned house on fire, and she stands in front of it like Jenny from Forrest Gump, without the heartbreaking, expertly written backstory, of course. Although I am sure that'll follow shortly. And after committing the crime, she's taken directly to the local psychiatric hospital because I suppose they just cut to the chase in 1966. When she gets there, the orderly escorts her down the hall with your standard practice social psychiatry neck grip, initially brought into prominence in psychiatry in the late 1960s by Spock. The greatest movie ever set in a psychiatric hospital featured a head nurse with a face like one of the Skeksis from The Dark Crystal, so naturally this movie features one too. Amber Heard's first day comes to a relatively gentle close, all things considered, when she's put to bed in Tammy's old room. We can assume Tammy won't be needing it anymore after her rather unpleasant exchange in the prologue with skinny, nervous... I don't think I meant to say skinny nervous, but we're gonna stay with it. Overnight, somebody or something takes Amber Heard's blanket, and when she retrieves it from under the bed, she finds a bracelet, and her face is implying there is something challenging about deciphering 5 letters. When she tries telling the blanket story to the doctor and Nurse Chamberlain the Skeksis, Chamberlain! They just hand her a big pill salad, which Amber Heard crushes on the floor. Probably so she can snort them after they leave. And then she meets the rest of the patients. Namely, I'm reading these, Artistic Iris, Seductive Sarah, Wild Emily, and Childlike Zoe. And much like actual psychiatric hospitals in real life, every patient is a 20-something supermodel with perfect hair and all of their teeth. And the girls tell Amber when it's time for her first official appointment with, let's call him the specialist.
Why am I here?
Why do you think you're here, Amber Heard?
I'm Kristen.
No, you're not. Why do you think you're here?
I don't know.
Some people would suggest your lack of comprehension is a direct result of you suffering a terrible emotional trauma.
There is no emotional trauma.
I said some people would say that. When I think of you, I just think you're very stupid.
Why don't you just let me go? Stay out of trouble, and then you never have to think of me again.
You really have no idea, do you? I have a friend. She does private acting lessons. I bet she could really help you.
I don't need your help.
Forget it. Forget it. One final question for today, Amber Heard. Are you familiar with the name Johnny Recaps?
No! No!
It was only a question. It was only a question. There's no need to act like a fucking crazy person.
I'm not crazy.
And then she steals the envelope opener from his desk, exactly like a crazy person would. And that night, after faking taking her medication like a criminal genius, she picks every lock in the building with the letter opener, which you could do in a maximum security facility such as this one in 1966. But unfortunately, she's caught at the final door and brought back into her room. And even though the entire exchange only lasted about 10 seconds, Amber is totally covered in perspiration, which is, of course, a well-known side effect of snorting your medication off of the dirty floor of a government-funded facility. So don't do that. And then while Amber is sleeping, she thinks somebody is looking into her room, but when she gets up to check, there's nobody there. But I froze the screen so you could see there was somebody there because your boy Johnny's got your back. Ah, God, I can't even make the joke. See if I ever actually call myself your boy Johnny on this channel. Don't just unsubscribe. Accuse me of something awful publicly so my life is destroyed. Anyways, I think it is safe to say this is dark-legged, skinny, nervous from the prologue. I also think it's obvious to say this is Italian fashion designer, business mogul, socialite, ex-supermodel herself, and sister of Gianni Versace, Donatella Versace, which I suppose actually explains why the place is full of 20-something supermodels. Sometimes the jokes write themselves. The next day, while artistic Iris is drawing Amber's portrait, Amber tells the girls about Donatella Versace peeking into her room, but they don't believe her, and that drastically changes the vibe between the girls. But being supermodels, they forget what they were talking about in 4 minutes and get right back to day spa dancing. But their wonderful time is ruined by some of Mother Nature's ugly, ugly thunder, and that sends childlike Zoe running right into the arms of Amber Heard, exactly like James Franco did. I'm sorry, there's no actual proof she did that to her husband. And then there's a group shower scene, because 2010 horror movie. And after all the girls leave the shower, Donatella Versace attacks Amber Heard because she must have caught her using Prada shower gel. I told you she's a go-getter business mogul, like the Jungle Book. That would be very different. And then to the rescue comes Nurse frickin' Chamberlain. And she flies in with a super concerned face that immediately morphs into an evil, angry face a second later as she's dosing Amber with her Ozempic. The Ozempic needle doesn't change Amber's facial expression at all because, well, she has them twice a week. Duh. And her facial expression doesn't even change when they drive 450 volts directly through her brain. But I suppose that one's easier to explain. The next day, Iris goes in for an assessment with the doctor, and she believes she's getting out, but apparently everyone else knows she's not getting out, and she ends up passing out asleep after the session, as we all do, and somebody steals her while she's snoozing. And it ends up being Donatella, who tries performing a lower eyelid blepharoplasty to proactively reduce those pesky bags you get under your eyes when you leave the glory and splendor of the era known as your early 20s. But in Miss Versace's enthusiasm, her vigor ends up driving the instrument all the way out the back of Iris's pretty head instead. And in fairness, that motion probably deflated the bag on its way through. So, silver lining. Later that night, when everyone asks where Iris is, Nurse Chamberlain makes this face, which is actually scarier than the Skeksis when you freeze on it. And then Amber Heard has a dream featuring a very, very young Sydney Sweeney. Nothing interesting happens in the dream, which demonstrates Sydney Sweeney's been consistent throughout her entire filmography, if nothing else. Burn. So, out of frustration or something, Amber steals Iris's book of drawings, which are incredible because movie, and we know Amber finds the drawings incredible because of the professional actor's expression of awe and utter wonderment. Sorry, I was destined to start slipping with the sarcasm at some point. I will try harder. I have picked the worst possible time to make the sarcasm promise. In the book, there's a drawing of Donatella Versace with the name Alice above it. I was under the impression Amber had figured out the name on the bracelet ages ago. Amber Heard rearranges the 5 letters on the bracelet to spell Alice. I think the only thing those 5 letters can spell is celiac? Nope, that's 2 C's. Correct me in the comments section if I'm wrong. I believe the only word those 5 letters can spell is Alice. Anyways, she's so absolutely chuffed with herself for breaking the German Enigma code, she storms into the office of the specialist. Listen, Amber Heard, I can tell how excited you are, not from your facial expressions, but because you've been screaming, I'm very excited at the top of your lungs for the last 5 minutes, and it would appear you've just carved the actual words into my desk with my letter opener. But you have to understand, I can't enter you into our institutional spelling bee just because you guessed a name on a bracelet. We don't have spelling bees. This is a hospital. We deal with people shouldering devastating despair and crippling anxiety and life-threatening alcohol abuse. And that's just the staff members.
There's a ghost in here.
I have told you many, many times, including twice this morning at breakfast while I was trying to help you get your oatmeal through your bendy straw. It's not a ghost. It's your reflection in the glass doors. Why do you care so much about this Alice girl?
That's who attacked me in the showers.
You're saying a girl attacked you in the shower while you were showering? Go on. Sorry. What was the question? Then she smashes Sarah in the face, and it is very dramatic. And what amplifies the drama is the fact I don't have a clue why she did that. And then Amber leads the remaining supermodels out through a supermodel-sized ventilation system installed right above one of the toilets, which is not a health or safety or sanitary or ethical concern in any way. This probably just looks weird to you and I because we don't spend a lot of time in supermodel day spas. The bathrooms where we go are used for other things, like doing drugs and pooing. And this also fully explains why Amber Heard prefers pooing in non-traditional locations. That is twice I didn't have to come up with my own joke. Cheers, Amber Heard, for being a revolting human. And then they nearly get caught by Nurse Chamberlain, who's inspecting the place with a flashlight while all the lights are on. She also apparently works 24-hour shifts and never sleeps, which I suppose if you've ever done any managerial work, you will know is handy as hell in terms of staff scheduling. They end up hiding in the morgue, and while Amber, the professional actress, is hiding, she looks absolutely petrified. When she comes out to get Emily after the coast is clear, one of the drawers starts rattling, which makes her even more petrified. But it's not Emily, it's Donatella's hand. So she runs away and gets so badly scared by Donatella, she has another Sydney Sweeney dream which nothing happens in. And then very randomly, Sarah, the attractive one, begs the balding, chinless, super charismatic orderly to date her, and he refuses. I need to understand what's happening in a scene before I can turn it into a joke, so we're going to pretend we didn't see this scene. Then Donatella chases Sarah into the kitchen and she fries her brain with electrotherapy, and for all intents and purposes, Sarah looks mildly inconvenienced by it. And when they realize Sarah's gone now too, Zoe, the one who's been acting like a child the whole time, reveals she has Amber Heard's teddy bear? Then Zoe explains the big looming mystery in this movie, because apparently there is a big looming mystery in this movie. Tammy, right, the girl from the prologue, yes. Tammy told them all how to get rid of Donatella Versace because apparently Miss Versace was being very mean to all of them. I mean, we know she was probably just encouraging the girls to reach their full aesthetic potentials while promoting her own beauty care products exclusively within the supermodel day spa. But we all know supermodels can be a bit opaque in terms of perceiving certain subtle social cues. I wonder if my channel's not growing because these are the sorts of observations I share with you. Apparently, the girls suffocated Donatella together, which must have taken some very coordinated, active communication. I mean, how many hands can you fit on a supermodel's throat, right? This channel's not just entertaining, it's thought-provoking. I bet that explains why Donatella looked like an angry leather gym bag roaming the halls in this movie. And when Amber Heard announces she's going to lead the girls in escaping the day spa for the 6th time in the last 15 minutes or so, Emily is so fed up with Amber's voice, she ends herself with a knife, and that means Zoe and Amber absolutely have to escape now. I'm just not sure why it means that. And in an unexpectedly tender moment, Amber takes Zoe's face in her hands and asks if she trusts her, which of course she should, even though she's literally never followed through successfully with a single thing she's announced she's going to do in this movie. But this time is going to be different, damn it, except no, it isn't, because she gets caught immediately. However, all is not lost as we get to see an actual facial expression as Amber looks totally wasted after an injection, which admittedly is a bit disappointing given we've seen her do that face maybe once or twice already. But the fast-acting, powerful, deep intramuscular injection wears off by the time she gets back to her room because of her otherworldly tolerance to because she's really determined to escape. I don't want her taking me to court. And then she breaks out of a heavy-duty canvas straitjacket because she is really determined to escape. You're not making this easy on me, John Carpenter. She is so determined to escape, in fact, she manages to knock Nurse Never Sleeps Chamberlain unconscious with one of Spock's Vulcan punches to the back. I think Mr. Carpenter might have missed the mark with this movie's title. Then she chucks Zoe in the dumbwaiter and presses the button without knowing where it goes because she's really determined to escape. And after she gets in the dumbwaiter herself without knowing where it goes, she bumps into Donatella. And she tries escaping her, but she can't. Until she finds an axe. And then, rather sadly, we watch as Donatella Versace dies to death, writhing in pain somehow, which is not very fashionable of her, is it? But, for the first time in this film, Amber Heard actually escaped something. And she brings this epic tale to a close with the long-awaited, highly anticipated final big reveal of this film in the specialist's office.
I'm Kristen.
You're not Kirsten, you're Amber Heard. Kirsten appeared back in 2022 the instant you realized you'd fucked everything up.
I didn't just appear.
Of course you didn't just appear. You're not that intelligent. You had James Franco help you, and it still took you guys a couple of days to come up with the idea because he's as dumb as you are.
Please don't kill me.
Hello, Amber Heard.
I think I remember.
I don't give a fiddler's fuck, darling, and I never actually have. Your parents seem rather chuffed with me for curing you, but I have to confess it was a total accident. You see, you were under the impression Donatella Versace just dragged you out that window, but there is no Donatella Versace, and whoever thought that one up is stupider than the hypothetical offspring you and James Franco would have spawned. But now that you claim to be remembering things, does anything by chance spring to mind when I say the name Johnny Recaps?
When can I get out of here? I just want to go home.
Yes, of course, you just want to go home now. How very surprising. You celebrities can't seem to see anything past the tips of your own noses, can you? Not to worry, Amber Heard. I'll fill you in. In 2022, Johnny Recaps decided to challenge himself by learning to make YouTube videos. Like most people, it took him about a dozen videos to get the hang of it, and just as he decided to start taking it seriously, his viewership mysteriously collapsed. After spending all of his money on cameras and lenses and software and green screens, no matter what he did, he couldn't find an audience. And do you know why that was? Because you decided you had to take your husband to court. For 6 weeks, you made things up just to keep the cameras on yourself. Any decent person wouldn't have been in court at all, but your ego had to drag everything out. Without views, even the big channels can die in 6 days. But 6 weeks without views for a brand new channel? That's content creator suicide. You look confused. While you sat in that air-conditioned courtroom with your hair and makeup dialed in for maximum lying efficiency, Johnny Recaps reviewed The Ring, and Prometheus, and Army of the Dead, and Nosferatu, and he wrote comedy skits and wore makeup and dressed like a woman, and he put his heart into every single moment of it for a couple of hundred views. Because for the entire summer of 2022, darling, anytime somebody searched the name Johnny Recaps, they were ushered off towards thousands and thousands of other videos featuring you and your husband at the time, Johnny fucking Depp. It didn't matter that Johnny's were spelled different because every one of those thousands of videos were optimized for every different possible spelling of Johnny. You might be wondering why I care about some random wannabe movie critic on YouTube. There are literally dozens of logical inconsistencies in this movie. There's definite potential in the premise, but I've already seen John Cusack do it perfectly in Identity. You can't act, at least you couldn't in this movie, but none of that is what got me angry enough to kick you out of a second story window. And yes, it was me, Amber Heard. Donatella Versace was only in your fucked up little head. And I did it because I did it because I am Johnny Recaps. I am the wannabe movie critic on YouTube, and I am damn proud of it. I may only be getting a few hundred views, and I may still only have a few thousand subscribers, but the ones that I have are fucking awesome. 1 hour from now, when your pain meds wear off and you realize the entire lower half of your bed is covered in shit, that was me. And I did it for Johnny Depp, who can act. Fuck you, Amber Heard's parents, and fuck you, Amber Heard. This video marks the end of an era for this channel. If you come back for my next video, you will see a definite change. I see this as a progression or an evolution for the channel, but obviously it'll be up to you to decide what you think. I filmed a short trailer to explain the channel's new direction, and I had an absolute blast making it. I will post the trailer on the homepage before the next video comes out. I will also post a link to the trailer in a community post. Between you and I am speaking specifically to those of you who've been good enough to stick around, I am nervous as hell about making this change. Obviously, it would be easier to just keep doing what I've been doing, but as you know, that would mean I would keep getting the results I've been getting. I have tried really hard, but I can't wrap my head around the fact 3% of my subscribers are seeing my videos. It takes me a solid week or two to produce these videos, and I know you're supposed to accept the things in life you have no control over, but lately I am starting to feel like I am failing as I am uploading the videos, and that's just not my kind of vibe. So, onward and upward, wish me luck, and I really hope to see you at the next video. Until next time, folks,